Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll have a roll call.
Mayor Hassler.
Here.
Alderman Smith.
Here.
Alderman Mooney.
Here.
Alderman Donovan.
Here.
Alderman Jokers.
Here.
Alderman Jones.
Here.
Alderman Stupi.
Here.
Alderman Prince.
Here.
Alderman Rozika.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Good, thank you. I'll entertain a motion for the, motion to approve the revised agenda. Second. All in favor? Aye. Very good. Takes us down to personal appearance. Gary Shield is here. Gary, please state your name
Again,
for the record.
my name is Gary Shell, and I'm representing two organizations tonight. And so what we're asking for is permission. First organization is Sons of the Union Veterans of the Civil War. And we're asking permission on September the 8th, we're doing what we call the bank raid. We're asking permission to shut down Main Street between, my mind just went blank, Market and Jefferson. And we would like to have it shut down from like 12:30 to probably around 2 o'clock. If there would be the dividers up or the block, whatever the things are, we would be glad to put them up if they're within that locality. And then also we're asking permission to use the city property, which is kind of known as the militia property, which is down on Front Street.
No, if it were just the use of the grounds, I would have approved that administratively, but you have to approve the road thing.
And what was the date? September the 8th?
September the 8th, yes, sir.
And it'd be closed from 12:30 to 2?
Yes, sir. That's our plan.
And that's I'm sorry, you say it's a weekend?
Saturday.
Just
That's a
Saturday. Just that Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Just on that Saturday. And we'd be glad to put them up, and then when we're done, we'll take them
Motion
down.
now, or?
Yeah, motion would be good.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Carried.
Oh, it's on, do you have a resolution? I'm sorry.
No, I
yeah,
have it under the consent agenda, but that's okay.
you're going to approve it twice.
Then-
You're going to get a double stamp of approval.
And this, thank you very much. Well, I have one other organization I'm representing. I'm representing the Milice de Sainte-Geneviève, which is a French colonial militia. And on September the 15th, the next Saturday, we're asking permission to use the city property on Front Street because we're having a rendezvous. And we're expecting to have, I don't know, like 40 or some odd different people in from 3 different militia groups. And so we asked permission from the city to allow us to use that property for that.
Motion to approve.
Is that on the consent agenda as well? Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes us to the city administrator's report.
It does?
That's you, Martin.
Oh, no, never mind. Not yet.
Oh, there it is.
We've already mentioned that Tim Good was here, so I'm not going to go over that again. If you drive out down Progress Parkway, you will notice that a new access road has been put in up to our new water tower site. So it's been rocked. The site has been cleared and excavated down to, and removed material down to the elevation for the base of the tank, and it's ready. It's ready. The original tank design kind of was for a 40-foot base, and it ended up being a 50-foot base. It's a Phoenix design, so we had to shift it and move it around a little bit. We had a couple of meetings out there for that, but that's all taken care of. I sent notices to the special taxing districts for the proposal of amending the downtown TIF. I received a request from Bo Beckerman's attorney, kind of a unique request, to remove his building from the overall TIF and establish it as a separate TIF district. So regardless of what happens with the taxes overall, he would be able to exist independent of that, and his project would stand on its own. Apparently that's legal, because I talked to Mark Spikerman. The question is whether the TIF Commission is going to want to do that, because wouldn't everybody want you to do that for them? But the request is on the table, and it will be presented to the TIF Commission.
And who pays the cost for that?
Of what? It would just be,
Establishing the new TIF?
it's going to be presented at the TIF Commission meeting we've already scheduled, so it'll just be, as they're deciding whether or not to remove the Bill Best building, and whether to remove they can decide on this.
Okay.
We vote on that, right?
You'll have to, the TIF plan has to come to you for your
We'll
approval.
get a recommendation from them.
Yeah, the
then
TIF
we
Commission
have to
sends it
decide.
to you. Right. There is a party interested in developing the Progress Parkway project. He had planned to be here tonight. He called me and said he might not make it, but it's on the agenda. If he gets here in time, we'll do it. If not, we'll just have a closed session for real estate at our next meeting. I think I have informed you once before that a sewer backup caused damage to a property owner who did not accept the insurance company's decision that we are not liable. And he hired an attorney and he sued us, and he's continuing with that suit, and the insurance company is defending us. And so we had depositions here last week on that. The Workforce Development Board, are you familiar with that program? It's a workforce development board for the county. It receives money from the state. It's designed to give people who would otherwise not prepared for entering the workforce after high school to develop skills needed to become productive. Generally, it's at-risk people who've had problems, although it's not related to the courts in any way. And they took the old MERS Goodwill space on Market. They completely renovated it. They're in there full-time doing this work. They had an open house. I went. Mayor's wife attended and made a nice presentation. They've done a really good job with that, and I'm sure they'd be glad to have somebody stop in and see them. We received a request to consider no parking on Point Base from Rozier Highway M, 135 feet on the north side of the road, because when they park cars on the right side of the road and cars on the left side of the road, it gets down to less than one lane almost, and then making a turn off of M Street onto Rozier becomes problematic. I think Jason Crump has evaluated it. He agrees. And so you have on your agenda tonight a consideration of that, making it no parking for that 315 feet, I think.
So it'd be from like the backside of the Ford garage, that vicinity?
Right.
And you said from the corner, 135 feet going
Was
west?
it 135 or 350?
300 something feet.
315, I think.
In Ford property, it would end at the end of their building,
Okay. So it would just eliminate the parking right in that area?
right along St. Jim Ford property. On Point Base.
Do a lot of people park there?
Yeah.
Just mainly at the intersection.
One side.
That intersection's tough.
Yeah.
That's two part there, so employees and people.
Right,
and group
right.
parks on that street.
Right, yeah. That's a hard intersection to see out there, trying to turn out of, yeah.
Valley football games.
Okay, sorry, I'm sure that was there.
Well, I'm just asking. I'd like to get all the information before I make that comment. Just give me a hard time.
And the final item I want to talk to you about is the state has, legislature has authorized a proposition to be put on the ballot to increase the state's motor fuel tax by 10 cents. I think I've spoken to you about this kind of back when it happened. The reason we care about this is we all buy fuel, but the other reason we care about it is that the proposition calls for a distribution of those funds so that the state gets the majority of it, the counties get money, and the cities all get money on a formula that they've calculated. For the city of St. Genevieve, should that pass, we would get an additional estimate of $69,365 in revenue that could be used for transportation projects,
Is that
roads.
the first year, or is that by the time it's?
That would be at the end of the first year, because they got to collect it first.
Well, so that would only be the, after 2.5%, or 2.5 cents, right? Because it's 2.5 cents a year over 4 years.
Right.
So that number would be that, and then a year later,
Double.
and then a year later, double. And a year later.
So the question
So at the end, that could be a lot of money.
is, the MML has asked whether cities were interested in sending endorsement letters or support letters to our, in support of the program. And
This wouldn't necessarily have to be purchased in the city limits, in other words.
no, wherever in the state this is collected, it will be distributed based on this formula.
With an earmark for, has to be used for.
I think it has to be used for transportation.
Except when you buy again.
Well, have a decent road to drive.
You guys, you buy a lot of fuel, don't you?
So, if you're interested in me in doing that, I will write the letter and prepare a resolution for your consideration at our next meeting. If you don't want to do it, tell me and I won't.
You guys do what you want, but not for me.
Well, that's why I brought it up.
But I'm just one guy, so.
What's the state motor fuel tax? It's fairly low compared to almost everywhere else.
I don't know exactly what it is, but
Certainly
yes.
certainly lower than Illinois.
Certainly lower than Illinois, yeah.
And they're still broke.
Yeah.
I can understand their amount of
Chicago runs the
increases.
state.
You know, they want to go from 17 cents to 27 cents. I realize it's 2.5 cents a year, but, you know, why can't these increases ever be nominal? You know, I mean, looking at a big chunk.
Well, it's like anything, they always say, but it's just this much. But you've had, how many others before it that were just this much?
Well, the first year is a chunk, even 2.5 cents.
Yep.
Do we have to vote on this to do it?
You don't need a vote, I just need to know the majority of the board wants me to do it or they don't.
I mean, I don't think us saying, yeah, we're for this is going to sway the proposition when it comes to vote. Nobody's going to be like, oh, St. Genevieve says we should
Oh,
do
yeah, we better do it.
Well, what the Missouri Municipal League do is they will send out publicity saying these members of the Missouri Municipal League support this. And we're either going to be on the list or we're not going to be on the list. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not going to only give it to people that endorsed it.
Nope.
That would be, I think, illegal.
So the consensus of the board is just let her slide and don't worry about it?
Let the people decide. I think they don't need our support.
We don't need our blessing.
Our stamp of approval or our dissent.
Okay.
Okay, Martin, do you want a little less paperwork for you to do?
I know. I got the request, I pass it
No
on.
answer is an answer.
Martin, I've got one question on your, this developer for Progress Parkway and stuff. I mean, do we have a set of guidelines that we're going to ask them to meet?
We're going to ask them to propose a development. And we will agree, you recall our method was to entice a developer by not charging them upfront for the cost for the land. We're not selling it outright, at least in the beginning. So I have asked for a development plan. And we then will discuss how the developer might pay the city as the development occurs on a per lot basis or a per acre basis, or however we agree to do it.
So the developer has to go in and basically put utilities.
Water, sewer, streets, whatever they're gonna do, they do it. We have a note, and the note's payable on the basis of that we negotiate. And for the subdivision, it was gonna be like a per lot figure, $10,000 a lot.
So how do we hold them to their proposal?
You don't.
So there's no bonding required?
If they default on their note, you take the property back and you have whatever improvements they've done to it
Have you had a chance
that you
to talk
didn't
to
otherwise have.
Have you had a chance to talk to the IDC board recently? I had a meeting with them last week, or 2 weeks ago, and then again last week. And there's another developer that's showing interest, in
Oh.
addition to the one you're talking about, that they want to bring forward.
No, well, I don't, Ron Klein called me and said, is anything developed, and I informed
I
him of
talked
this.
to
So
Mr. Kime, and anyway, the point being is, I know of a developer who contacted me who's also interested. So you'll have, I think, 2 right now that are interested in Progress Park.
Well, that'd be great. When's he gonna call me?
Well, we were waiting for them to meet tonight.
Oh.
The IDC
Okay.
meeting's tonight,
Okay.
and I'm waiting to hear back tomorrow.
Well-
And they're gonna invite him to come down to meet with the IDC.
This is not, okay, I don't know. I mean, Ron called me and said, has there been any progress on this? And I
Okay.
I told him there was someone interested, and we were gonna have a meeting tonight, but we're not because he's not here.
Okay.
You sure we're not talking about the same guy?
Nope, 2
Okay.
different ones. So you have,
Right.
now there's two developers who are interested in Progress Park.
Then I would, as any good real estate agent would, say, I'm gonna get both proposals.
So
will
I'll
be
hear
brought-
more tonight?
Will be brought to you.
And I'll let you know, or he'll probably contact you. So, okay, good.
Any more questions? Eric Bennett, come to the podium.
Report.
State your name.
Oh, wait a minute, two things I wanted to.
Oh, no, sorry,
Yeah, I know,
Eric.
you know.
Oh.
Relates to me, I think.
Well, one of them relates to Eric.
Oh, good.
Every time this year, I hear, you hear, everybody hears that mosquitoes are terrible and that the city not spraying
Right, what's up
is
with?
wrong. And so, since it was a topic of social media here recently, I took the liberty of distributing to you this report. And it talks about the issue. And for the record, it says, airborne spraying of pesticides, commonly called fogging, to kill adult mosquitoes is the least effective method to control mosquito population. Fogging usually consists of spraying and fogging pesticides from the back of a truck or an airplane. This method is ineffective because the pesticide only kills the mosquitoes flying in the spray. Mosquitoes behind buildings and under vegetation are not effective. Airborne pesticides are particularly harmful as they may be easily ingested by humans and wildlife, and pesticide residue can also be left behind on items kept outdoors, such as children's toys and outdoor furniture, and tracked inside on shoes. Since fogging only kills the insects that eat mosquitoes and can cause future population booms for local mosquitoes. And it tells what the alternatives are, and as we have been preaching, use larvicide, which we do. We don't have any predators running around. And eliminate the sources of breeding habitat for mosquitoes by not having standing water.
Plant lavender.
No.
Lavender.
That's,
I'm on it, bro.
I'm telling you.
You're gonna have so much lavender in this town, you're not gonna know what to do with it.
All right, so.
That was a joke.
So it should, hold on to that, and should you hear about this again, as I hear about it fairly regularly, that's the word.
I've already recited it before we did this. but-
maybe it'll be in the paper this week. I hope.
Another issue is, besides the killing the insects that eat mosquitoes, it kills all other beneficial insects, and with the problems with bees that have been going on recently, this reduces bee population. And I know we've got beekeepers in the city that I'm sure don't want their bees being insecticided.
I just tell the people, the mosquitoes are coming from the county. There are no mosquitoes in the city, they come in from the county.
Blame it on the-
Yeah.
Well, those mosquitoes bit me the other day when I was out talking to the painter.
Yeah.
The other thing I distributed to you, and Eric can help address this, is Eric has sharpened the pencil, has met with Gary. They've reevaluated all of the proposed improvements for City Hall and have prepared this budget figure. This is not what it's going to cost. This is a liberal estimate, or conservative, depending on what you think, of the cost. We certainly expect when it gets competitively bid, it should come in under this. We're just distributing it tonight to get the sense that should we go to bid? You don't want to take bids and then not do a project.
So, we make it-
$162,685 or less will renovate this space, the office space, and the police department.
Actually, if you think about the size of that, it's not too bad.
so is
A
it,
lot of money.
So how many square feet is this building?
Do you need-
You know how many square feet this building is?
Do you need a motion?
No,
The initial space?
No, I don't need a motion. I mean, if anybody objects to proceeding, tell me now, and we could discuss it. Otherwise, we'll just do it.
oh, wow.
62 by 54 is 50, or 45 by 52, so 110 by 3328.
3,000.
3,300 feet.
3,328.
That's just for the city hall, and then ours is,
Is that all of it, Gary, or is that,
that's city hall and
Contact
the courtroom.
okay?
And then ours was 45 by 52,
I used to ride motorbike.
I did too.
another 2,000.
That explains a lot.
plus square feet.
Okay,
That's what's wrong with you.
3328. And then
Thank you for that compliment.
your space was what?
45 by 52.
That's 2340. Plus 3328. That's 5,668 square feet approximately. Okay. So what do you get, Bob? Did you run it yet?
No, I
Mr. Mr. Fix-It, yeah. That's a dumb fault.
What are we trying to put that?
I don't know what we're trying to do.
Square footage?
Why does it do
For what
that?
point?
If you double tap on the bottom, it brings it down.
But why does it do it to begin with when I didn't?
Let's get,
He's getting to it so that it
can
can
we,
light.
let's go move forward here. I mean,
I'm trying.
You pull
My
it.
technology is not.
Well, what we need to do, are we gonna go ahead and proceed forward to get a solid bid on what it's gonna take? Yes, Marty.
All right.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank
No,
you.
you're not, you're up.
I am up, thank you. I don't have a tremendous amount to report. I think later in the meeting is an ordinance to purchase some replacement ballistic vests. This is going to be a budgeted item on my 2019 budget year, but will be reimbursed through our insurance program. They have a kind of a safety program reimbursement for its members. We've used it before. We've purchased cameras and whatnot from it before. So the entire cost of that will be reimbursed, and I think it's replacing 5 of our ballistic vests. They have a 5-year shelf life, so should that come up, or when that comes up later in the meeting, that's the nuts and bolts on that. As far as the report, I don't have a tremendous amount to report. We're still at full staff. Everybody seems to be doing well. We got through Jurtafet. Everything went swimmingly, and I think everything's going well, unless you've heard something else.
So we've had requests from an organization that owns property in the C1 zone district to have an outdoor music event. There's nothing in the zoning ordinance that would prohibit that. Is there anything that we ought to consider or address before we
Is
say
that
yes?
is that on the consent agenda?
No,
Oh.
not yet. It's like later in October.
I mean, other than
Oh, okay.
just telling them they have to abide by the noise ordinance and.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the main thing. I mean, a peace disturbance complaint would need a complainant. So typically, we just try to keep that before 10 o'clock at night, and usually it's sufficient.
Okay.
Commercial.
The commercial zone district.
Yes, sir.
You know, before you start a remodel project like this, I mean, have we really looked at the roof and what's up there and how old it is? And
We had it re-plasticked, or so, a portion of it 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
It was tarred, inspected.
It's not leaking, look at the ceiling tile.
I know.
We can certainly-
$163,000 and all of a sudden the roof started leaking.
No, it was done. That's what I learned,
How long have you gone?
4 years.
There you go, 4 years ago.
So what was done? It was just seal coated?
That was the thermoelastic.
Right,
It is a rubber roof up there.
right.
They did a thermoelastic coating over it.
We can certainly inspect it again, I mean, while we're at
Just a
it.
recommendation.
Good idea.
You know, good old flat roofs. It's not about if, it's about when.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure who came up with that original idea. Wasn't it?
Any more questions for Eric?
Yeah, Rick, I just hope next year during the fest, they think about Market Street parking on both sides of.
Yeah, and it was a thought this year, and it just escaped us. In years past, like last year, they didn't have the car show up there, it was down at the bottom.
Without that, it was still cars trying to go east and west and park on both sides. I don't know.
Yeah, that was us, we dropped the ball on that,
Get
so,
out of the driveways or whatever, but-
yeah, that was our bad. We'll definitely correct that for next year.
I know it also got kind of narrow between the booths down on Main Street, you know, concerned for fire and stuff. How do we?
Those have been measured, I mean, there's still the 10 feet clearance between booths.
It's the width that the fire chief prescribed.
He
Well,
had
I say that.
concerns.
Hmm?
He had concerns about it.
Jamie's here, she can address it.
If he had concerns, he did not contact me, and I'm the president of Juror Vet. I have yet to have,
He
he's
just
never
mentioned it
come
to
to a
me.
meeting, or he's never said anything to us yet. So if he has, I mean, pretty much everybody knows where I am. I'm either at Cafe Genevieve, I'll give everybody my cell phone number on TV.
And I guess to clarify,
You can call me anytime.
we've gone by the standards of the previous police chief, which was the 10 feet clearance, and that's the recommendations
And I
that have
called
always
the
been
new-
given to.
When I found out who took over, I did make a contact. I called him,
Oh, okay.
the new man, and asked him, what's his name? Steiger?
Steiger.
Yes, I called him when I found out that he was new, and I asked him if he needed to meet with me or anything, and he did come to the cafe, and we talked, and I said, if you have any issues, he should still have my cell phone number, and I have not heard since he has been chief.
But we'll,
Did he make his rounds? Like, I think he did every other year. I was kind of checking it out to see if there was any issues with clearance.
You mentioned it to me if there was
I guess
concern.
he did.
this is the first I've heard of it. We can certainly try to remind everybody next year when they're setting up for that. I think everything went well. We didn't have any major incidents, had some medical calls.
Went great.
And so it seemed like it went well.
Good. Any other questions?
Anything else?
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. I'll bring David Bova. Is David Bova in the house?
Yes, he is.
Good deal.
State your name. It never gets old.
Hello, gentlemen.
Oh.
Dave Bova. I think you have the report there in front of you. There was a Heritage Commission meeting earlier this week. We had 3 applications. All were approved. There's a listing of the permits issued over the past month. Possible to have a planning and zoning meeting next month, so we
What?
might actually have something. We'll see. We'll see. Nothing to report, though, for that or the Board of Adjustment. Floodplain management, there are going to be new firm maps issued. I think the last time was 2011, I'm not positive, but those are still preliminary. They hopefully will be issued and ready to go in February of this coming year. The majority of what I've worked on is the property management focus. You can see there's some numbers there. There's actually updates to those numbers, but 76 properties reviewed, 42 letters sent. 42 South Main, I sent you all some pictures. If you didn't pull them up, I have them here. But the work that was done as far as the junk and vegetation abatement was great. Now the work on the paint abatement will probably begin not this Monday, coming Monday, but the following Monday. And then it'll be painted after that. The parts that need painted, not the entire structure. And that, gentlemen, is all I have unless you have any questions.
When you go in and do the painting, is there, you like to try to match existing color? Or, I mean, are you allowed to do that, or?
We have a color. It's, I don't know, brown, gray kind of color. It
It's really
kind of matches the other stuff that's there.
So there's just one color that's always used, no matter the color of the existing?
I don't have a history of colors used, but this was a color suggested.
Is,
As close as possible.
is chosen
Yes.
to match specifically?
I don't think the building's really a color now, is it?
Well, it's, yeah. Yeah, yellowish.
Putrid, it's colored putrid right now. Quickly, in regards to that, I know there were some holes in that building where critters were getting in and out. Are we just nailing a board up over that or something to seal it up, or are we?
The hole will be remediate, or, repaired.
No, it's not to be pretty, it's
Mhm.
just to keep.
Yes, there are several holes in the front. Some have birds' nests in them.
Right, I know.
And we will, the person doing that, it's Tom Moody, will fix those holes before we paint.
Gotcha. I just wanted to be sure they were fixed because that's part of the problem.
Absolutely.
There's animal habitat there, yeah. Good deal.
Do we have any liability there with the lead abatement?
Yes, we have a liability. That's all in the bid.
He's a certified lead
Yeah, he's
abatement
certified.
painter, so he knows
Yes,
what
and
this
he
is.
will be getting in touch with the neighbors before he begins that process.
Good deal.
Before Dave leaves, and this is not anything anybody needs to do, but I just want to say it for those who might be listening. There've been a couple of incidents where work has been done on structures without getting permits. To the general public, if you're anticipating doing any work that requires electric or plumbing or structural renovations to your house, please call City Hall to find out what permits might be needed.
We would greatly appreciate that.
It's a lot easier to do before you start.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
David.
very much, sir.
Sandra, you're up.
Hello again. You have my report in front of you as well. I just wanted to do a quick Jurdafet recap, of which I was planning to do. Of course, Jamie's in the room. I felt we had a very successful weekend overall. The Welcome Center once again served as the check-in point for the Jurdafet vendors and the host, co-host with the committee it's easy for people to find it. It's cool inside, and I think they've really appreciated that the last few years. Over the course of the weekend, we hosted just over 1,200 guests. We received many positive responses by Jurdafet vendors, and I think that the opening ceremonies, I would say 400 is a very conservative number. It was a huge crowd for opening ceremonies, and part of that is due to the Beauvais or Bova family and the German Gremmingers family. They just turned out in droves. So thank you for the alderman who was there, and in particular for Alderman Smith, who presided over the opening ceremonies. It was a really good day. I already covered the National Parks update on my previous remarks. I would like for the aldermen to know that they are all invited a week from tomorrow on Friday, August 31st, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We will again host representatives from the National Park Service Regional Office and from the Department of Interior for a signing ceremony. This will take place on the grounds of the Beauvais Amaro House on St. Mary's Road. And it will work with the city and the county and all of the local historic entities directly involved with the National Park Service. So that's 2 o'clock next Friday. I just did a quick outreach update. I mentioned earlier that on August 9th, also on the 17th, I was in St. Louis making presentations about why St. Genevieve would be a great place to visit. Tomorrow, Martin and the mayor and I will meet with representatives of the Fish and Wildlife Service. We've had an ongoing dialogue with them. They've had kind of a change in some personnel. The regional director wants to come down and hopefully talk to us about what he can do for us to help us along with our project. And then finally, I wanted to put a footnote here about economic development. In cooperation with the IDC, we have almost completed a special task force that they have ongoing for business retention and expansion. And in the course of that, we've met with all of our major employers in the area. We're developing a summary, but many of the findings from those meetings have to do with workforce development in particular. And we'll be meeting with the superintendent of St. Genevieve R2 School District tomorrow to talk about some of those findings. In particular, it seems like a lot of the businesses are in need for students to come out of high school with maybe some more career and technical skills in their favor. And so we're going to share those findings with them.
Any questions? Sandra, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Wilson.
Evening, everyone. Touch on one thing real quick that wasn't in my report. We had a big water main break today on Washington.
What happened? Pipe broke.
I was waiting.
Why did it break?
We were washing a house. No.
Yeah.
There's a service line that comes off of the 6-inch line. The valve broke off the main. But yeah, if anybody drove by, it's a pretty good show. So.
Yes. You see it?
I missed it.
Okay.
All right, back to my report. Lots of cleaning and painting at the water plant. A lot of anticipating the installation of our crane system that we had coming, which is installed now. Pumps and motors are all scheduled for repairs or scheduled maintenance as normal. Water tower, like Martin commented on earlier, water tower project's moving along, site's prepared.
Any questions?
Okay. One more thing. I would like to introduce Tim Garrity. He's president of our company, Lions Water.
Tim.
So if anybody has any questions for me or him or Ron. Nope.
Okay, thank you. Any committee reports?
Yeah, I was there, you were there,
Yes, I was.
and when
Heritage Commission.
Heritage Commission, and it went.
It went.
Smoothly.
It did, very well. We know we have nothing from planning and zoning. Maybe next month. Yeah, so. All right. Public comments? Jamie?
Yeah.
Are you making a public comment or you just visiting? Huh?
Well, one thing is,
What? Whoa, you gotta come to the podium and state your name for the record.
Oh, right. I just came from the restaurant, so I look like this. Okay, Jamie Inman, President, Jerdefet. I know that the city has allowed us to have the streets earlier, which we love and the crafters love, so we can get everybody in there, because usually we would be setting up late at night. And then, if you're trying to set up after 10 p.m., it's dark. And we do have a lot of crafters that are older and they need help. So we do have someone down at the Tourist Information Center for a few hours on Friday, but we're there all night long. And then I go back at 5 a.m. in front of the old Brickin' stand. So there's the people that check in while we're at the community center when Joan and Mary Stupi are doing that. They can start setting up then at 6 p.m. They can come and check in as early as 1, but they are not supposed to be setting up till 6. I know we had an issue with a few people setting up a little bit early. The guys were there really early, the food vendors under the railroad trestle, which I had a conversation with them, and I will remind them nicely next year that they can't do that. But what I was talking about was, since we did approach you all a few years ago and we got the time, moved up to 6 p.m., we were kind of wondering if we can really enforce the streets. Not so much that people can't drive. I know people are working down there and everything, but just to be a little bit more conscious of how fast they're driving. Because even with the borders up, some people will move them or whatever, and I know it's frustrating for the people that work down there, but they also have to understand that it's only couple days out of the year, and it does generate a lot of tax money. And just for Joan, Brenda, and I that do the majority of the work all year long. We all have other jobs, so we're trying to work around and one of us always be there, at some point in time, so they have an actual Jurdafet person that is involved in it deeply and is trying to be there. So I'm just trying to think of ways that we can make it easier for everybody that lives in that area and for the crafters, and for them to just understand we're not trying to do it to make anybody, we're trying to make it as convenient as we can for everyone. But I do know that at a couple of the spots, people were just kind of still having issues with trying to set up and people, driving through there. And I don't know that it was local traffic or it was not local traffic, but just driving, too fast in that little, and it's basically just a 2-block, the Merchant and Market Streets, through Main Street. And that's the majority of the people that go there, or that are setting up early. So, and I hope that we can still set up as early as 6 o'clock because the crafters really like it. And I think that's part of the one reason too that we've been getting more crafters is because they can get there, get set up, and then they all feel comfortable about going home. We haven't had any issues, like the police are always down there and they're always, watching, and then we have a couple of people that are there through the night. So we haven't had anybody have any major things, anybody stealing anything, so they feel very comfortable in St. Genevieve setting up their stuff and able to leave and do, what they want, and we haven't had any issues with that. But just kind of maybe if we could watch the streets but we're growing, and I think we're generating a lot of money because we just went over a few of our items, and we're up in some of the sales for people and stuff, so. Yeah, and a question somebody asked me was about, and I kind of had this question too because I try to stay out of the taking of the money and messing with that and any of that extra paperwork that I don't have to do. So I take care of the food and alcohol vendors. And so I was asking about the crafters. So the crafters have to pay the taxes on the items that they sell, so then the state will distribute it back to us. So we are making that extra tax money that weekend on those items, on what we sell. And I have no idea, I have no idea what they generate, to be honest with you. And I don't know how you guys, get that money from the state. So I don't know if you all know how much we get in tax money back from the crafters. I'm not sure how that works.
Very difficult to segregate.
To segregate? Yeah. So, but the state, because they pay the state, so then the state turns around and gives you a check. But they give you a check for other things, but not just Jurdafet that weekend.
I mean,
So
we
it's-
see the spike.
The spike in it?
But we can't portion it out.
So you can tell that there is a spike
Oh,
then
yeah.
because of Jurdafet. Right, okay. Yeah, so I mean, I think everybody, we could use still an adult person, one more adult person to help on Friday day whenever we are inside the Tourist Information Center. We have 2 people from Jurdafet Committee that do all that work inside the Tourist Information Center, and we could use one more adult person if somebody, and it's only from 5 to 8 p.m. So somebody that wants to help with Jurdafet and not required, they don't have to come to all the meetings, they just kind of have to help that 3 hours. It would be a tremendous help for us girls. So if anybody's interested, they can call me at the cafe or they can get a hold of somebody. Call the Tourist Information Center. They have my cell phone number and stuff, which I can give it up.
And I'd just like to ask, just for the record, I mean, you all, because I've had people ask me, and I'm still learning about how things work. You all are a self-supporting organization. You're not getting...
Right, we're a nonprofit
You're a
and self-supporting.
nonprofit
We
and-
get nothing extra from,
Right,
we do
so-
get we get a few $100s for extra advertising from
Right,
tourism.
right.
We get a $200 payment for the radio and a $100 payment for something.
We did social
boost-
media.
Social media boost this year. But besides that, Jurdafet takes nothing from the city. We only give back.
Right, because I just wanted to, for the record...
Yeah,
there's
well,
no-
and I take that back, because we do get extra police help, so whatever
Well,
that is costing the
Right,
city
but in
is
other words,
extra
but
police
you're
help.
not in the city budget, is what I'm getting at.
No,
Because I've had
and-
people who don't understand that, and I try to
No,
explain
we
that.
do that all on our
You do it on
own
your
time,
own.
and we
Right.
do it all on our own time, yes.
Fantastic work from a group of volunteers.
And we don't take any money from the organization, no payment, no nothing,
All
no.
right.
And we,
Okay.
yeah, no. But this year, businesses out there, we're probably going to start, we're going to probably ask, we're trying to get a pavilion put up down there.
Right.
And eventually, hopefully, some restrooms. And that brings me back to something. Somebody said that there's some stuff maybe left over from the park that got taken away when the pool was gone, maybe some picnic tables and some things that are maybe somewhere. Is that a no? Okay. If there is anything that anybody is wanting to donate that came from any of that stuff, we would love to have it down on our property. So we're hoping to, we're in the talks with a couple of businesses in St. Genevieve that wanted to donate because they said they've never been asked, because we've never asked anybody for anything. So I'm hoping that they will, and we have a bid and we got some grant money. So hopefully we'll be able to have a pavilion and people will have family reunions, and, you know, there's a couple of schools that come to St. Gen, and I think they try to squeeze all the kids in the Lions Club Park and feed them. And I said, well, they could go down there and let the kids run wild, because I'm sure all those teachers would love to let the little kids run wild for 45 minutes before they pack them back on the bus to leave. So, yeah. And with the parks, you know, coming in, so hopefully we have enough spots for some RVs, and that's just all people. We had, I think, 12 RVs stayed this weekend at Jour de Fête. So that was, you know, more income for Jour de Fête this year. So I think we ended up with almost $600 or $800 extra because of the RVs. Yes, and they were either, most of them were crafters, yes. I think we had one person that came in for the weekend that was not a crafter. Everybody else was either a crafter or a food vendor. And now that some of them, it's new, so now I think next year we have enough spots for 25. With our crafters and not crowding anybody in there. So we have enough spots for 25. We're going to hopefully get, Tower Rock is giving us a big pipe that's going to go in there by Front Street. We had talked about that being done. So we're hoping that we could get that in, so then all the RVs can just be pull through. So nobody has to, we had a man that was driving his RV. I don't know if it was for the first time, but he made some ruts because he didn't know how to park. But anyway, so hopefully we can get that done, and that will be an expense that we budgeted in. So that won't be an expense except for, I think you all were nice enough and hauled rock for us, you know, last year. So I might have to sneak and be really nice and ask you guys to haul a couple of loads of rock for us for that. But yeah, so Tower Rock is supposed to be giving us the rock and the pipe. So, yep. So besides
So
that,
Jamie, for someone who lives right down in the middle of all the action for Jour de Fête, I want to compliment you for the setup and for all the support from the police and everyone, and from the cleanup perspective. So I see it from the start to the end, and I'm going to tell you something. It runs smooth.
yeah, it does, and that's why, and we don't ever assume, like, so we call every single person to Jeanette Wood that lets us borrow her parking lot. I call Sylvanus, I call Eric Scott. We call every single person. Right. We call the churches, make sure that, you know, the Methodist Church, we always make sure that everybody is, you know, is still okay with what we've done before, and is it okay? Jan from in St. Gen, he lets us borrow that little parking lot. It's so nice. So we always call every single person, and then we also attach all of their property to our insurance. So we get the binders and all that. We're lucky our insurance company doesn't charge us to do that. We can have as many binders as we want for the year. So we bind every little bitty bit of property. If they pay for a booth and they're not on private property, or they want to pay for the booth and they're on private property, then they're automatically bound into our insurance. So if you've bought a booth, or you have a craft or a food or an alcohol, and you have paid for an official booth spot at Jour de Fête, then you are bound into our insurance, which is then above and beyond what the city, you know, has. So, and we pay that bill every year, and it's a whopper. Makes me have a heart attack.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, but nope, we're self-sufficient so far.
A lot of things that are self-sufficient.
Yep. So, all right. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Okay.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. That takes us to a public hearing at 6:48. We'll open up the public hearing
for
setting tax rates.
State law, Hancock Amendment, requires that the state review the assessed valuation of every taxing entity and adjust the tax rate. The goal is to keep the cities, in this case, from having the benefit of this inflationary increases in taxes. So if inflation drives property up, our tax rate goes down. So we net out the same revenue regardless, except new construction is exempted. You have that report here. You'll notice our assessed valuation went up slightly, but not enough to trigger a change in the tax rate. So the tax rate stays the same. Our income will stay the same. The income will always stay the same.
Any comments, public hearing, comments, questions?
Close the public hearing.
I'm going to close the public hearing at 6:50. Takes us to the consent agenda.
Before you approve it, there's closed session minutes.
Motion to approve that.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Takes us to old business. Be the second reading on bill number 4230, an ordinance approving a budget amendment to the City of St. Genevieve fiscal year 2018 budget relating to capital improvement fund number 70.
Move to approve.
Second.
I need a roll call vote.
Alderman Smith?
Yes.
Alderman Mooney?
Yes.
Alderman Donovan?
Yes.
Alderman Jokers?
Yes.
Alderman Jones?
Yes.
Alderman Stupi?
Yes.
Alderman Prince?
Yes.
Alderman Rozika?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 4230 now becomes ordinance 4162.
Takes us to bill number 4231, an ordinance approving a budget amendment to the City of St. Genevieve fiscal year 2018 budget relating to the federal levy fund number 45 and capital improvements fund number 70.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Rozika?
Yes.
Alderman Prince?
Yes.
Alderman Stupi?
Yes.
Alderman Jones?
Yes.
Alderman Jokers?
Yes.
Alderman Donovan?
Yes.
Alderman Mooney?
Yes.
Alderman Smith?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 4231 now becomes ordinance 4163.
Bill number 4232, an ordinance approving a budget amendment to the City of St. Genevieve fiscal year 2018 budget relating to the general fund, budget number 10, department number 16, police.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Jokers?
Yes.
Alderman Donovan?
Yes.
Alderman Mooney?
Yes.
Alderman Smith?
Yes.
Alderman Rozika?
Yes.
Alderman Prince?
Yes.
Alderman Stupi?
Yes.
Alderman Jones?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 4232 now becomes ordinance 4164.
Bill number 4233, an ordinance approving a budget amendment to the City of St. Genevieve fiscal year 2018 budget relating to rural fire fund budget number 60.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Donovan?
Yes.
Alderman Jokers? Alderman Jones?
Yes.
Alderman Mooney?
Yes.
Alderman Smith?
Yes.
Alderman Stupi?
Yes.
Alderman Prince?
Yes.
Alderman Rozika?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 4233 now becomes ordinance 4165.
Bill number 4234, an ordinance approving a budget amendment to the City of St. Genevieve fiscal year 2018 budget relating to the transportation fund budget number 21 and debt service fund number 50.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Prince?
Yes.
Alderman Rozika?
Yes.
Alderman Jones?
Yes.
Alderman Stupi?
Yes.
Alderman Smith?
Yes.
Alderman Jokers?
Yes.
Alderman Mooney?
Yes.
Alderman Donovan?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 4234 now becomes ordinance 4166.
Bill number 4235, an ordinance approving a budget amendment to the City of St. Genevieve fiscal year budget relating to Valley Springs TIF fund budget number 40 and general fund number 10.
Approve. Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Rozika?
Yes.
Alderman Prince?
Yes.
Alderman Stupi?
Yes.
Alderman Jones?
Yes.
Alderman Jokers?
Yes.
Alderman Donovan?
Yes.
Alderman Mooney?
Yes.
Alderman Smith?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 4235 now becomes ordinance 4167.
Bill number 4236, an ordinance to the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, amending Chapter 706 Water, Section 705.350, Fire Hydrants, subsection D of the municipal code as set forth below.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Alderman Mooney?
Yes.
Alderman Smith?
Yes.
Alderman Jokers?
Yes.
Alderman Donovan?
Yes.
Alderman Jones?
Yes.
Alderman Stupi?
Yes.
Alderman Prince?
Yes.
Alderman Rozika?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 4236 now becomes ordinance 4168.
Bill number 4237, an ordinance approving a bid proposal from Hoffcomp, Wapapella, Missouri for the purchase of an Amicus EF25 STD electric power unit in an amount not to exceed $6,817.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Mooney?
Yes.
Alderman Donovan?
Yes.
Alderman Jokers?
Yes.
Alderman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Rozika.
Yes.
Alderman Jones.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderman Stupi.
Yes.
Bill,
And-
8 yes,
I'm sorry.
0 no's. Bill number 4237 now becomes ordinance 4169.
Takes us to new business, bill number 4238, an ordinance levying taxes for the year 2018.
Move approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to have a motion for a second reading.
Motion for a second?
Second.
I have to have a roll call for that, or?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
You ready? Bill number 4238, an ordinance levying taxes for the year 2018.
Move approval.
Second?
Have a roll call?
Alderman Rozika.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderman Stupi.
Yes.
Alderman Jones.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderman Mooney.
Yes.
Alderman Smith.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 4238 now becomes ordinance 4170.
Takes us to bill number 4239, an ordinance of the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri, authorizing a no parking restriction on the north side of Point Base Drive, 325 feet west of the intersection of Point Base Drive and Rozier Street, State Highway M.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Takes us to bill number 4240, an ordinance approving a bid proposal from Leon Uniform for the purchase of 5 body armor vests for the police department, the amount not to exceed $5,625.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any other
Motion
business?
for a second reading on that?
Second.
Okay.
It was requested.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, bill number 4240, an ordinance approving a bid proposal from Leon Uniform for the purchase of 5 body armor vests for the police department, an amount not to exceed $5,625.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Have a roll call?
Alderman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Mooney.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Jones.
Yes.
Alderman Stupi.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderman Rozika.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 4240 now becomes ordinance 4171.
So, there's no other business. Any communication with the board, to the mayor?
No, the party that I had with the closed session with, couldn't be here tonight, so we'll
Very
have
good. Well, if there's no other business, I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.